Rosendahl. Shh. Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl. You're always here on time. I appreciate that, Mr. Rosendahl. We are expecting, I believe, at least one other member, but we're going to go ahead and begin this meeting, Mr. Rosendahl. And they put you next to me. I did.
Who's this? Tommy boy.
You get here early, you get to be next.
We got to get it all done before Tommy shows up. We just get him to agree to vote. Our historian.
So we do have, what I was going to suggest is that we have consent on the PPDs that are before us. We do have a card on item number 4, so we will call that one special. But unless you have a problem with it, Mr. Rosendahl, we will take items 1 through 3 on consent. And Madam Clerk, when one of our other members becomes present, we will ask them to also consent on items 1 through 3. If we could go to item number 4.
Item number 4 is a DOT report and resolution relative to the renewal of seven temporary preferential parking districts for 12 more months until September 29, 2009.
Thank you. And we do have one public comment card. I'd like to take that first from Mr. James Standish. Mr. Standish? Yes. Sorry. I saw everyone stand up. I wasn't sure. Mr. Standish, please. They do have a clock. It's 2 minutes, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you for hearing me. I would just like to speak in opposition to renewing this temporary preferential parking district. The district was established without any notification to any of the businesses in the area, and it has significantly and was recently changed to dramatically affect the parking on Saturdays and Sundays, which most of the businesses, many of the retail businesses in the area do, upwards of 40% of their business on Saturday and Sunday. Yet the preferential parking rule is no parking at all on Saturday and Sunday, and no parking after 6 p.m. So anybody wanting to come to Silver Lake, say, and shop in the evening or on the weekend is, it's going to have a hard time finding a place to park. I wrote a little letter summarizing the position of the Silver Lake Chamber of Commerce on this issue, and included with that is a petition from approximately 500 customers and business owners in the area in opposition to the preferential parking district.
And could you, because we have several that are part of this packet, do you know which PPD that is? Or maybe I'll have this down. Number 12, okay. Great. And have you shared that information with its represented? Is this in Mr. Garcetti's district?
Yes, I have, but we've sort of been off and on talking about it, but the issue hasn't been, at the top of their agenda recently.
Okay.
In recent months.
Great. One of the things I might recommend is that we, I don't know if there's anyone here from Mr. Garcetti's office? Okay. That maybe between now, either between now and the end of the meeting or now and the time it comes to the city council, that there can be some further discussion and at least share with them the documentation that you have going forward. And you indicated that it had changed from, many of these are, renewals, that's right, renewals from, the past. You said it's changed from the one previously. It's in addition, or is it the same?
The parking district was established like in 2004 or 2002, and then it was only recently in the a year ago when they rearranged the district to have the dramatic impact that it has now. Whereas previously it wasn't even enforced. I mean, it wasn't an issue at all.
Great. Well, yes, Mr. Garcetti's office, you want to comment or?
Marcel Porras from Council President Garcetti's office. We have been working just recently I've just been speaking personally with Jim Landish about it and also with Alan Willis from DOT to discuss the matter. It is our recommendation to approve the temporary preferential parking district for now and to continue working on to get all the community input from all of the business owners and the residents.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for being here today. I appreciate it. Do you have any questions, Mr. Rosendahl? Okay. So we'll move that forward. They'll have some discussions between now and the City Council meeting, and appreciate you being here. Mr. Standish? Is that did I pronounce it correctly? Okay, Standish. Thank you very, very much. Next item.
Item number 5 is communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Mr. Dennis Hernandez to the Board of Taxicab Commissioners.
Mr. Hernandez? Oh, sorry. I saw you when I walked in. How are you?
Pleasure to see you.
A constituent of mine, I might add, Madam Chair, in the 11th District. Where do you live in the 11th?
The Kentwood area.
Kentwood.
On Nancy Street.
Over there in Westchester.
Absolutely. And
Yes.
always kind to attend our block parties, so thank you for that.
Pleasure.
Bill's everywhere, so.
He is.
She's everywhere. I'm almost everywhere.
Dennis, maybe I've had the pleasure of knowing you, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself and what your interests are in serving in the Taxi Cab Commission.
Thank you, Councilperson Gruhl, and thanks to the board. And really thanks to the mayor for the opportunity, the nomination to serve on the Taxi Cab Commission. I am a recent appointee or recently sat on the BITSI, the Board of Information Technology Commissioners, and
You thought you were getting rid of that one, and now you got rid of your commitment.
yeah, I hope this one has a little longer tenure, but I am a attorney here in Los Angeles. I work in Century City at the law firm of Lewin and Glushon. I do a variety of business and transactions and litigation. I'm just kind of a roving fielder in the field of law. So what I bring to the commission is just 25 plus years of experience in business-related issues. If I have any particular interest, is to serve the people of the city of Los Angeles, to be a fair and hardworking commissioner. I'm sorry I haven't had the opportunity to meet with you and with your staffs to understand more of the issues that are important to you, but offer myself to make myself available at your convenience to learn more about what the important issues are.
Well, we thank you, and I know we're trying to get that schedule together, and I think taxi cabs have been become a big issue here in the city. They're sometimes the first introduction to Los Angeles when people get off their plane, and they provide a vital service for the seamless system we're trying to create in Los Angeles. There are some challenges because of gas prices, all of those, making sure we're serving the public, to bandit taxi cabs, all that. So we look forward to working with you, and I think you'll bring a fresh perspective to the issue. And again, I want to thank you for your willingness to, when one ended, to go to the next and to serve the city, and for what that you've done in your experience. So I would recommend an I vote. So, Mr.
Indeed, with enthusiasm would I recommend it. There are a couple of taxi cabs men here. Why don't you stand up for a second?
And they're going to public comment
Okay.
cards too.
When they do finish their public comment, and before you go to the council, I want you to spend some time with him. He's quite a leader and an activist, and sometimes the taxi cab drivers feel they're underappreciated, underrepresented, and some of them have felt with the cost of gasoline going up and the issues involved with that. Some of them feel they work long hours and with very little money. We obviously, as Ms. Gruhl said, some of the first impressions somebody has is getting in a cab and going somewhere. We've done some exciting things in the most recent moment with taxis. I like to call one like I do in New York, taxi, and have them right there, you know. We have a bigger issue, though, with other taxi cab groups that are registered in other places that come into our market, take advantage of our market, but we get none of the revenue. They're not licensed in the city. And then there's also these folks who pretend they're cabs and they're not, and we have police involved with dealing with some of those issues there. So there's a lot to be working on, and I'm thrilled you're stepping up to the plate, and we look forward to your leadership on the commission.
Thank you, Councilman. I have met with Mr. Khan, and I completely agree with you that taxi workers are some of the most hardworking people in the city of Los Angeles who deserve our respect and and all consideration by the city, so.
And as we go forward with the modernization of LAX, no expansion, modernization, you'll play a major role in that issue as well as cabs queue up to be effective.
I look forward to that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
move.
Okay. Mr. Alacone is looking at something now, but I'm going to take public comment, Mr. Alacone, then if you have questions, that would be great. If we could ask Mr. Sachs and Mr. Hamid Khan to come up, and you can stay there if you'd like. And Mr. Sachs? You know what I mean? Mr. Sachs, we move.
Yes, good afternoon, Arnold Sachs. Very quickly, on the bus that I take to come downtown, one of the bus rides, there's a passenger on board, and I'd just like your opinion on this, more or less, because the chairman mentioned the airport and some of the problems involved there. And this particular passenger has a uniform, and this involves not only taxi cab, but it involves Councilman Park's graffiti ordinance. And his uniform is for ASI, the taxi cab, authorized taxi cab supervision. And on his uniform is a seal. That's the same seal for the city cabs. So my question is, can I get a seal like that to wear on my clothes? Or is that just a given? Not only that, but if I was to take a magic marker and write authorized across that seal there, or authorized on a city cab seal, would that be considered graffiti? Because on that seal that he's got, that this company has got for all its taxi starters, is the word authorized. So is there authorized graffiti? If there's not authorized graffiti, then how come he's got authorized? If the seals aren't available to the general public, how is it available to a private company? Never mind the fact that this private company is collecting $27,000 a month for a lease at airport property or city property for a catering truck that the city sees nothing of. Again, just maybe something for you to think about. Thank you for your time, your answers, and your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Hamid,
Maybe you could look at that, too.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. Hamid Khan with the Los Angeles Taxi Workers Alliance, an organization that represents over 1,400 signed taxi workers. I just want to take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Hernandez, and we look forward to working with him. Change is always good, so hopefully, given 2010 is around the corner, a lot of issues remain outstanding, issues of financial transparency, issues around retaliation, issues around franchising system. But then there are immediate issues, Madam Chair. We've been kind of earnestly waiting for almost a year now. The parking exemption issue is still outstanding, and we have some drivers who are continuing to pay a very heavy price for that parking exemption. So hopefully, with this breath of fresh air on the Commission and the leadership on the Commission, we'll look forward to working on that. So, and really the parking exemption piece it's been a year now in which Councilmember Rosenthal and Hahn had put a motion out, so we really look forward to it. Lastly, I know that you'd put out a few motions in September 06 and then earlier this year as well about a consultant. We're still waiting to see the city's role as to how we evaluate the existing franchise system where it stands before we even move towards 2010, whether this is workable or not. So that's something that we are looking forward for the Commission as well. So again, I thank you and welcome aboard. Thank you very much. Just get ready for the freak show.
And I know.
Welcome to the world of taxi cabs.
I know he will provide you with some of the documentation and reports, and there's been a lively discussion and a very important discussion about the role of taxi cab drivers and making sure they're fairly paid and treated fairly throughout that. And 2010 is a big year that is looking at the Commission will be intricately involved in. So you've picked a good time to come in.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Alacone or Mr. LeBonge, any questions for this Commissioner?
Actually, just an observation. I'm assuming you're Catholic because with all the good work you've done on your list, I'm figuring you're trying to do penance here.
I was wondering where he's going with that, Dennis, for a moment.
No, Shelley was wondering where I was going with this, but
Yeah, that's right.
I've been around too long to fall into that trap. But obviously you have tremendous experience having worked for the California Supreme Court in your younger days, and
Much
and
younger.
your career has extended far beyond work for Congressman Brown, who was a great congressional leader, and so many steps. I'll forgive you the Glushan Luna piece, but I'm sure that if anybody can figure out the taxi cab system in LA with all these credentials, you got to be the guy. So
Thanks for that vote of confidence.
thank you so much for volunteering to help us through what has historically been a very difficult process, and I only want to say thank you for contributing your time.
Thanks for the opportunity, and just briefly, in my earliest experience in public service was working for Congressman George Brown. He was a man who imbued in everyone the sense of duty and service, and that's what I'm all about. It drives me every day, so happy to serve.
Thank you. Wonderful. Then I think it'll be unanimous. We look forward to seeing you in the council. Do we know when you're going to council?
Next Wednesday, the 17th.
Okay.
The gentleman handed me something. I thought I was being served with a summons,
Yeah,
but
no.
it turns out to be something else.
Something else is handed to you, so thank you again, Dennis. We'll see you next week. Appreciate it. Unanimous vote. Also, colleagues, if it's okay, we can take up, we'll just approve items 1 through 4, which are the PPDs before us as well. Thank you. Next item.
Item number 6 is a DOT report relative to the request for proposals for management of landscaping and maintenance services for the city transit facilities.
Thank you. And Jim, I know you will give a great presentation, but what I just wanted my colleagues, I had the opportunity to ask some questions yesterday of staff. Colleagues, this is extending an existing contract because the contractors who applied, one was late, one didn't fill all the qualifications. We have to go out to bid. My only issue yesterday was making sure that we did make this available to our Recreation and Parks and General Services departments as well to provide this kind of service and see if they choose to apply, but to do this as quickly as possible. Does anyone else have any questions of Mr. Lefton? This is item number 6. Great presentation, so we're going to go unanimous, Jim. Best one you've ever given.
Jim,
I like to give Jim a hard time.
Could we get a couple of minutes out of you? Just give us a quick summary for the record for those on council phone and everything else outside of the room.
Sure. Real quickly, the department released an RFP in March of 2008 for facility landscaping and maintenance services. The RFP was split into 2 separate packages. One was for the city's transit facilities, and one was for city off-street parking facilities. The department will be forwarding a separate report with recommendations to award a contract for the off-street parking work. For the transit facility piece, the department received 3 proposals. However, one of the proposals by a firm called IC Cals was late, and we had to deem them non-responsive. Another proposal submitted by the incumbent, Shelter Clean, didn't meet the city's meeby-weeby good faith efforts, so we had to deem them non-responsive. Therefore, there was only one firm left, a firm called SBM. The department conducted an interview and evaluated the proposal submitted by SBM. The evaluation panel felt that the proposal was not adequate, that it wouldn't provide for a quality level of service, and felt that it would be in the city's best interest to release a new RFP. So the department is recommending that we reissue the transit piece only as part of a new RFP, and that we extend the existing contract on a month-to-month basis until a new contract is awarded.
Great, thank you.
Did Record Parks bid on any of it?
No, but we will, when we put the new RFP out, we'll share it with Rec and Parks and General Services.
Thank you.
Yeah, I said I wanted to make sure they did that, both of those to do. Okay.
The only concern I would have is the incumbent service provider now knows that that they're not going to get the nod. What can we expect of their service?
The incumbent service provider, we are, as I said before, we're recommending we re-release the RFP, so the incumbent provider will have an opportunity to bid on the
But
new
you've
RFP.
already established, you've made a finding that they did not perform a good faith effort. How are they going to do that between now and the time they apply?
Why we deemed them non-responsive was that they were not in compliance with the city's good faith efforts for maybe we be outreach. So that's something they can easily rectify.
Oh, so it was relative to the RFP?
TRP.
Oh, I was under the assumption it was their hiring practices, not
No,
their,
no.
not moving forward.
Just their outreach.
So the incumbent could
Yes.
develop a specific target that was more consistent with our good faith hiring practices?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Sachs?
Yes, good afternoon, Arnold Sachs. Very quickly, yesterday at the County Board of Supervisors meeting, and the reason I'm bringing this up is what occurred there. There were two items on their agenda. One was dealing with them allocating LAC MTA funds and matching county funds. And I questioned that because at one time there was an MOU between the county and LAC MTA, and I asked, they're separate entities, and I was told that they were. So my question regarding that was, how can they allocate MTA funds for maintenance work? That was one item. There was another item regarding repairs of a MTA parking facilities in Long Beach, a ramp. So the reason I'm bringing that up is, and I asked regarding if they allocate funds for other transit agencies. I was told yes. Supervisor Antonovich said yes, they do. So if they're allocating funds for maintenance work, why doesn't LADOT approach MTA and say, we have maintenance work we need done, allocate us some funds, or get the county to? Then they don't have to bid on it. Let the county take care of it. It's on their agenda, yesterday's meeting, you can look it up.
Thank you. I mean, they're separate entities if they chose to bid on this contract, but they would not do it for free to us.
No. When you say separate entities, I say LACMTA is,
No, that's
the county is separate from MTA.
right.
They're allocating, their motion on their agenda was to allocate MTA funds for this maintenance work. And I questioned, I said, if you're separate from MTA, how can you allocate MTA funds? We can do it. So if they can allocate,
I don't know if the MTA, maybe the MTA had allocated those funds. You need to talk to the MTA and county, so, I
well,
mean.
no, I talked to county, my point is,
Perfectly, it's normal practice for another agency to compete for services. If the MTA, since they have established services within the county, they're probably very competitive with providing those similar services to the county of Los Angeles. So it's perfectly, and I don't think there's anything that prohibits them from the RFP. Am I correct, DOT?
No.
So if they want to apply, they can apply.
I mean, what you're suggesting is they made a decision for the MTA. I'm sure there's some, and you can talk to MTA reps that are here and ask them exactly how that is feasible to do that.
well, I'm just saying, it's an avenue, you're looking for funding, they're funding two different maintenance yards.
Thank you. Thank you. That item is, I know, but correct. No, he's saying they decided how they were going to spend MTA money. So. Anyways, we'll approve that item.
So moved.
Thank you. Item number 7.
Item number 7 is the CAO report relative to contract amendments for independent transit bus maintenance audit and transit technology services.
Thank you. And I know that you are getting ready to draft this is contract amendments to extend the existing one, and you're going to go out to RFP. And as I've shared with the department, we've kind of known that this was coming up, and that I see in a couple of RFPs that we're having to extend before we're able to. And I know there's some staff issues, but I'd like to see us really trying to meet those deadlines, because it's costly to us to have to continue to extend during that period of time. So I don't have any questions. Sorry, there may be, but this is just a contract extension. Any questions, colleagues? Another great presentation.
Well, 2 for 2 today.
And with that, Madam Clerk, there'll be unanimous on item number 7.
Brings us to item number 8, which is DOT reports relative to maximizing mass transit usage for special events in downtown Los Angeles.
Before you begin your presentation, Jim, John Walsh on item number 8.
Oh, I'm pleased to speak for the first time in many years in front of this committee. In fact, it has three of my best favorite council people here. I won't name them because it could hurt your careers. And also in the audience is Mr. Philip Aker, who works at DOT. Oh, there he is over here. The model of an excellent public servant, and I'm sure you are too because you're sitting next to him. Remember, and incidentally, no problem is ever caused by a corrupt bureaucrat. It's caused by corrupt politicians. You know, the ridership is abysmal on the subway. They predicted 298,000 boardings, not people, 150,000 people by the year 2000. That's in the EIR. Last month it was 120,000. It went up a little bit when the gas price went up. It went down a little bit when the gas price. But there are some, shall we say, silver linings. You have created, anti-war rallies are 3 or 4 times bigger than they've ever been in the history of Los Angeles because of the subway. It's interesting, because I've been to most of them. When the subway, when they're in Hollywood, it's predominantly white people who come to the anti-war rallies. When it's in downtown, I'm the minority in downtown. Because as we all know, we have 2 cities. One white, one minority, separated by La Brea. If you want to sleep homeless on the east side of La Brea and you're a minority, you can. Don't go on the west side. That's a white city. And, you know, and incidentally, 50 years ago, I've talked to people, it was Main Street. If you were on this side of Main Street, you were a minority. If you were on this side of Main Street, you were white. The only thing is it's moving towards the sea. I'd just like to point out that also it is very hazardous to your health to be on the subway. Hydrogen sulfide. I'll give you $100 for every person you see with an infant on the subway, because every minority in this city knows that the air is so bad. $100 for, and I've been writing this thing since the day it opened. I was arrested at the day it was opened. Thank you.
I'd get $100, I think, because I took my son when he was an infant, so, and take him now.
I'm going to take Camila just so I can get $100.
Pay up.
Jim, and just for a moment, this was created, this task force was to look at ways in which we'd heard from all of the many, from the music center down to the Laker games at Staples and other places, about the difficulty not only getting it around downtown but getting to downtown, and was there ways in which we could begin to address that. And really 8, 9, and 10 are all kind of combined, because we're looking at both Dash extension and shuttle as well as subway for a portion of that time. So if you could tell us a little bit about the work of the task force here, Phil.
Well, with John Walsh's commendation, I'm going to have Phil make the presentation.
Well, first of all, speaking for a minute about the cultural or special event task force. That was set up a year ago. We've had probably 7 meetings. The focus of that group was initially to provide some kind of Highline charter service from the west side to downtown. The complaint was people living on the west side couldn't get to a curtain during the week, and so they thought that this would be a good idea. We said we don't have any money to operate something like this, but we can help you with planning such a service. More or less coincidentally, the opera company started just exactly a shuttle like that, the opera shuttle, and although it had fairly good ridership initially, it began to fall off in ridership, and so they're not going to continue it for the next year. I think the people on the task force began to realize that a lot of the problem getting to the downtown, if you have first the time necessary to gather everybody to get on a charter bus, when the bus gets on the freeway, it's in the same mess that you'd be in your car. So without a dedicated separate right-of-way to get to downtown, there's really not an advantage with a charter bus. So they basically stopped talking about that. Now recently there was some discussion about some sort of a Dash service in downtown, and they focused on something that would be very, very low cost, and that was something that would go from the Civic Center Red Line station at Hill and First up the hill to the Music Center and back down to the Red Line station. Once again, we said, we have the vehicles, The city owns the vehicles. They're not busy at night. We could make them available. We also administer contracts, and we could administer the contract, but we don't have the money to operate them. And we talked about the Prop A deficit and all of the worthy dashes that are waiting in line to get implemented that we can't implement. And so really where we are right now is Santa Monica Blue Bus was going to come in with a proposal to operate some kind of a service from the west side. That hasn't been produced. And we also were looking for some zip code information about where people on the west side lived. And this was patrons of the music center, and this was an idea to help with service planning. And that hasn't been forthcoming. So the task force has been dwindling in terms of attendance. And I think that the reason I think it segues into the discussion that we're going to have on the next item.
And I think that, and Mr. Rosen wants to comment, a couple of the Wilshire bus lane, which we're hoping, I think, to have on a next agenda to talk about where we are with EIR and the other project of moving that forward, the Wilshire only bus lane, which would be a dedicated area, and during peak hour time periods or on those evenings to be able to do that would be one.
And that's true. And that's true of the Expo line as well.
And so I think that what we want to do is 9 and 10 clearly are looking at some of the short-term and pilots to look at that this task force, albeit not meet on a monthly basis, but periodically continue to meet to discuss some of the alternatives to address that issue as we go forward, not only with our strategic plan with others, but Mr. Rosen.
Yeah, and she stole my thunder a little bit. We need that bus-only lane on Wilshire Boulevard. We need it yesterday. And when we have a bus-only lane, we obviously have an opportunity for a bus to get downtown. And so I'm looking forward to the update report on that. I know we put up $200,000, another $200,000, $400,000, now about $800,000 in doing a EIR, and we got the federal money waiting there. I can't wait to see that bus-only lane on Wilshire. Second thing is on weekends, Saturday and Sunday. We don't have the gridlock in my district going out in the afternoon. That's why it doesn't work. I mean, it's impossible to get out of the 11th district after 4:30 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon until 7:30, 8 at night. I know, obviously, from personal experiences all the time. So who's going to sit in the same gridlock in a bus as they would in their car? And so it doesn't work until you have bus-only lanes. But Saturday and Sunday, we don't have that gridlock. What about some of the opera and theater and all these other things on weekends? Have we looked at it separately as a weekend issue that we might have some relief on?
I don't actually staff the committee directly, the task force. The person that does is on vacation. But my understanding is that the operating companies did not indicate that there was a problem on the weekends.
Right.
It was a weekday problem.
Yeah. And with not a problem on weekends, does that mean we can have it effectively happening on weekends?
That is that they didn't see a need for
a need for it, because a person could just get in their car and do it simply.
Yeah. Because most trips to an event like that are a natural carpool.
Right.
You have very few people driving to an event by themselves.
I agree.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. LaBonge?
Thank you very much. You talk about downtown too, right? Right? And all this is downtown as well? What do you have planned for Saturday? Have you thought about Saturday?
I think what we're talking about right now, well, we operate...
I know what I'm saying is, Phil, you're a great guy, but one of my disappointment is there going to be 95,000 people at 39th and Figueroa. That's where I go to church on Sundays when the Rams and Raiders used to be in town, but they're not there anymore. But SC's playing. And what I'm thinking, Phil, if we really were smart, which I don't think we're as smart as we could be, is we should really power nothing but buses going south on Flower, as they did in the great '84 games, and you probably were involved with that, where the buses came down one way on Flower and came back up Fig. But I don't know what is planned for these big, the SC seems to fill that house. So you got an idea?
No, I looked over at Art.
Art's got an idea. Art, you got an idea? I mean, I just think we have a lot of people, and, I just don't think we take advantage of it. And that's why I wanted to just throw it at you to next time you're around. Line up all your buses and just get them down, rolling them down and back. I remember when the Dodger Stadium had the 177 bus They'd come off Sunset Boulevard and it would line up in the outfield, and you'd see them in the outfield, in the ring road, and now we don't do it. I think we have to get public transit sooner or later to our public venues. 93,000. Now, Tommy Plummer's working on Saturday. So you're not?
No.
All right, Phil. Take a look at that, though, will you? And Rita, look at that. There's only 6 big games, and just try to do it. And Art, talk to Carolyn Flowers. Just say, get some of those buses out of that division that's just sitting there and just run them down the street. And they tell all these people to park downtown, and you lessen the congestion at 39th and Figueroa. Thank
They
you.
can take that subway. Like our Dodger, Jim, any status on that? By that way, he's responding. Ann, want to come up? Ann?
That's mine.
On the Dodger Shuttle?
Dodger Shuttle, do you have any update on that?
It's doing very well. We've bumped up. We started off with 5 buses. We've had to increase the buses to approximately an average of 9 per game, so that's going to have an impact on the overall cost. But ridership started off at around 450 per game, and we're up to now sometimes close to 800 one-way trips for each game. So we're doing really well. Ridership continuing to grow. Tom Lasorda was on the bus on Sunday. There's a nice story on Channel 11 Fox News about it.
Since Ms. Gruhl asked that question, I got to tell you, I don't want us subsidizing that buses to the Dodger game. They make enough money to pay for it themselves. So when are we going to get out of subsidizing the Dodgers in that game? Now, with Manny being Manny, we have a huge attendance there, and we got more home runs, and it's just wrong for the city to be subsidizing the Dodgers.
It's a legitimate issue. We'll be coming back with a report that discusses the status of this is a demonstration project. We'll come back with ridership and talk about options, but that's clearly up for discussion.
And also having MTA provide regular service.
Yes, there are other options.
Whatever, but for
Yeah.
God's sake.
Yeah. It's good that it's a success, and then I know.
We love that.
I knew when I asked that question you were going to say that, Ms. Bradley.
Oh, wait a
Thank
second, let me ask Mr. Rosendahl, since he's so intimate.
Manny being Manny.
Okay, who won last night?
The Dodgers did.
Okay, you got that from Jim there.
No. All right, look, just for the record, I went on the radio welcoming Manny to the city, and from that point on, I look to see what Manny's doing every day. And that was a smart move that we did, and the Red Sox, it's their loss, it's our gain, and we're going to win a World Series because of this guy.
All right, but I support the efforts of DOT and the subsidy of this.
Ms. Bradley.
One of the biggest things I worked on when I was at the Music Center for 6 years was public transit. The number one complaint that patrons had coming downtown was getting there. When the Disney Concert Hall was opened, I convened a series of meetings with municipal bus lines, LADOT, and MTA to talk about reducing car use. We came up with 3 very important things. Number one was that if the Big Blue bus would run at night, even in rush hour traffic, but certainly after a performance at the Music Center or after other activities downtown, the Big Blue bus for West Siders is tremendous. And you can, it goes directly to the DWP, as Tom knows, right across, and there are other downtown locations. When I met with these people, and when Josephine Ramirez, who is the VP at the Music Center under President Roundtree, and she's very much behind this. I mean, this is something that could start next week, Wendy. I'm not making this up. I mean, the Big Blue bus people were behind it. And frankly, as someone who used to leave the Music Center and go to the West Side on the Big Blue bus, even in rush hour traffic, Bill, it's not that bad. It's really not that bad. Number two, and I know this is a little challenging, but I think that when you think about how popular the rapid buses are on Wilshire and the 920, if you could consider maybe 1 or 2 that would go left on Grant and right on First, take people right to the Music Center. Because even though I think the rapid right now is a great alternative to getting downtown, people say, oh, but it takes me to 6th. And number 3, and I hope you really hear this is a heartbreaker for me. I called the opera when I was aware through a friend that they had that shuttle. They don't have nothing on their website. And I talked to an opera person, and I said, why aren't you promoting this? And the man, big pause, and he says, oh, Ann, no one really is that interested. Wendy, as you know, and Rita Robinson and her brilliance the other day, when we met with her, she said, our biggest obstacle is attitude. And this feeling that people are not going to, and it isn't even about It's something larger. There's no other city in the world, Wendy, that you can go to where people have that attitude. They just don't. Everybody else gets on a bus. Here, it's like...
And I'm sorry I have to cut you off, but no, I appreciate that, and that's why we set this task force up. I mean, it was important to do, and I don't want to, just because
Think
there's
about
the
the big
limited-
blue bus.
Yes.
Because
We should-
happen tomorrow.
And we should follow up with them because, Phil, as you mentioned, you're not the person, but we can get a report back. We'll receive and file this particular item, but we will continue to have report backs on this as well.
Okay.
And thank you, Ann. You're right, it is attitude. It's about people trying it once, too, and making it work. Okay. Any questions on that? No.
There seems to be a focus on the west side and the West Valley. I don't know where it started, but what about all the other parts of the city? Do we know where the people are coming from?
That's the reason we asked for the zip code information.
I'm sorry, I can't understand.
That's the reason we asked for the zip code information.
So
We don't have that.
we don't have that. I mean, it seems to me that without that, we're shooting in the dark.
Let me add something. One of the things that happened at the task force was that...
Hey, can you do me a favor? Can you turn the mic
Microphone
towards you
closer.
and
Get it
speak
closer
into
to
the
your
mic?
Sure. One of the things that we did at the task force was that we really stopped looking so much at special services and started to say, let's take advantage of the existing regional service that's out there. So obviously the rapid bus system that Metro runs, Metro Link, I mean, there were good services, Foothill Transit, there's Silver Streak. So the idea would be to take advantage of services that are out there to get people to downtown, and then the focus really kind of changed to getting them around downtown once they got here.
Well, the other thing, there's several just sort of out of the blue observations that I would make here. Number one is the people who attend the various venues downtown are attending a very diverse set of events. And so if you studied one event, you might attract people from the west side. If you study another event, you might find the numbers higher on the east side. And I could imagine, depending on who's performing at the music center, every week you could get a different set of numbers. So I don't know how you factor that in, but it seems to me that flexibility is an important feature. It really depends on what's going on at Disney Hall, what's going on at the music center, as to where we're going to send the buses to go get people. Younger, older. I mean, do we send the buses to senior centers throughout the city of Los Angeles, or do we send them to the parks to pick up kids? I mean, we need to do a much better job of analyzing the program that is attracting the people from the various geographic areas. Otherwise, what's going to happen is you're going to be skewed, and you're going to drive the performances to serve one segment of Los Angeles as opposed to other segments of Los Angeles. Another observation that I would make that is totally out of whack with any thinking I've ever heard is I wouldn't mind giving the Dodgers the free shuttle if they'll cut a deal with us to not allow SUVs to park within 250 feet of the front row seats. The idling that the SUVs are caught, and I drive an SUV, although it's a hybrid, and I know what I'm saying, but why not think outside the box? If we can get a benefit by reducing the amount of minutes that SUVs are idling at Dodger Stadium, which I assume there's got to be 5,000 every sold-out game, and park them further away, then we can literally reduce the emissions that we're trying to reduce. So I think I'm less concerned with designing boutique transportation services to address a particular play for a given week or month than I am with trying to target the worst vehicles and trying to get them to stop coming to downtown unnecessarily. I mean, I don't mind, I assume the Dodgers have a few fans who drive SUVs, like me. But they're not going to stop coming if they have to walk 100 feet or so. I'm just saying that to create a system of service to attract people to utilize the downtown venues more aggressively, and to at the same time address issues of mobility, it seems to me that we have to get very specific in terms of our analysis, and to the extent that we may ask the music center to move a show from this time to this time. I don't know. But the transportation analysis I'm getting back is so anecdotal. It's like you're asking people, please come and give us your input, who know nothing about transportation, except that they want more transportation from where they came. And that's not enough. We need to do, as a city, we have a responsibility to serve the entire city, and that means that if we want to attract people from throughout the city into the downtown area and move them faster and more efficiently and in a cleaner way for the environment, then we have to do more specific kinds of studies with greater latitude on the specific options that we utilize. But I, for one, would cut a deal with the Dodgers in a minute if we could reduce the drive time of SUVs in the downtown area by 1 hour for 1,000 vehicles for one evening.
So I think, conversation with the Dodgers and others, and I think that the idea was that there were a variety of venues downtown that did have, depending upon, some Laker games, some same night as you have, and DOT's really tried to kind of look at when there's a night that they're going to have everything, a USC, a Laker game, soccer
And a
game,
UCLA
whatever,
game.
and the UCLA game and
Fantastic.
Dodger game, and try to figure that out and to be able to respond to those. So the idea is that this group will continue to focus on that. Okay, so we'll receive and file that. Thank you. Next item.
Item number 9 is a DOT report relative to the feasibility of extending the hours of operation of the downtown dash service on Friday nights.
Thank you. And we do have several cards on both item number 9 and item number 10. So I think what we will do is give a minute to each of the people who are here for items 9 and 10, somewhat, combined there. But if we could maybe have a brief presentation, and then we'll go to the public speakers.
Why don't I read item number 10 is a Weezer Grow motion relative to a pilot program to extend the operational hours of the Red Line between North Hollywood and downtown during the holiday season.
So if you could just kind of report on 9 and 10.
Okay. Well, acting on the motion, we actually started looking at the idea of extending the existing dash service, all of the routes that we operate, into the evening, recognizing that we don't have the money to operate them, and had really thought about going out to the private sector and seeing whether there was money to do this, when more or less coincidentally, we were approached by the Convention and Visitors Bureau, LA Inc., and the LA Live complex, with the idea of running a service within downtown that would connect various activities, more or less the Music Center on the north side and LA Live on the south side, through the 7th Metro station, the Red Line, Blue Line station at 7th and Figueroa Flower. And so we've talked with representatives from both LA Live and LA Inc., and LA Inc. had said that, recognizing that this would have to be supported by private stakeholders, once again, we would make the vehicles available and handle the contract, but we were really looking for private sector support for operating the vehicles. And so where we are right now is we have a tentative route, and we also have an estimate of costs. And so that's really where this, in a way, we kind of broadened and refined the motion to bring in this notion of LA Live, LA Inc. So that's really where we are. And representatives from the Convention Center and LA Live are here.
Because as we discussed, this would be privately funded. We don't
Yes.
have money within the city to do that, but to do this program.
That's correct, yes. Now, we have the dash vehicles, and we'd make the vehicles available.
Okay, if we could have the following individuals, and maybe we'll let you guys go just for a second because we're going to call 4 up at a time. Greg Fisher, Jessica Wethington McLean, Hal Bastian, and Mr. Walsh.
Madam Chair, just for clarification, 1 minute or 2?
I'm sorry, 1 minute.
1 minute? Okay.
Come on up.
Council members, Greg Fisher, Council District 9. Sort of an aside on item 8, I sat on the task force. Several good comments were made about what needs to be done. Having sat on it for some time, I can tell you that there is an issue with how we look at this. Having people come to the music center from specific geographical areas, and also being aware of the fact that the music center venues start and end at different times, it sort of deteriorated into a we don't know where to go with this. I think if you're going to do this again, you need a master calendar of events and somebody that looks at how to master plan a transit system within the system to make it work for different areas and different time frames.
Okay. We'll start your clock back at 1 minute since that was 8.
Thank you. The council office has reviewed the DASH plan, which it thinks is very engaging. We offer the only comment we offer is that we feel that the alignment which runs down Grand Avenue should be shifted for that portion only to the east, preferably, we feel, to Hill Street, because we think that it will do a better job of serving the residents downtown. Grand Avenue being way up on the hill is not going to be very much of a draw for people who live on Main or Hill or Spring. And it's other than that, we feel a very, very good idea to offer this. We would further offer that we would like to let the Downtown Los Angeles Neighborhood Council have a look at it from its perspective and offer some suggestions, which we think will probably verify where we are, but that doesn't mean that that's exactly where they're going to go. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much. Jessica.
Good afternoon, thank you. Council District 14 has reviewed the DASH proposal as well, and we think it's a great idea. Part of the council members bringing back Broadway initiative is to try to use transportation to link all of these parts of downtown that are experiencing revitalization, that are our entertainment destinations and are the places that people go, so that people come into downtown, get downtown however they get there, and then use transportation to circulate themselves around the city. It's critically important. We do feel that moving the line eastern will provide a number of benefits. There's a lot of residents, about 1,500 units in are going in on Broadway, 3 times that many on Main and Spring. So you have residents that are living eastern. The further away the northbound versus southbound line runs, if there's a couple of streets in between there, the benefit of that transportation is spread out. If they're only a street or 2 away, you're only walking a block, it's not as wide of a service area. Walking that extra block down to Broadway would make a lot of sense to us, and it would serve Main and Spring.
Thank you. Al? And while Mr. Walsh is coming up, I'd ask Steve Needleman as well as Mr. Moses. Mr. Moses?
100% in favor of extending the DASH into the frontier of the night. On ridership surveys, I'm going to tell you, MTA does excellent ridership surveys. They'll show you that lower income people, minorities, are 80 or 90% of the rail riders. They're 95 to 98% of the bus riders. They have a ridership survey, ask them to give them to you, and just copy the way they do it. Then you'll find your ridership, you'll find out satisfaction survey. There's no big problem here to find out who's riding your buses. And they also lie, MTA, ask them, how many bus boardings countywide? They'll say 1.2 million. That does not include the munis. They never aggregate the munis and add them into the 1.2 owned and operated buses. In fact, the number 1 muni in this county is LADOT. And we have major city like Long Beach. They have about 400,000 bus riders a day that are never counted and never presented as part of the bus riding public in this county. They lie with statistics.
Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, council members. It's an honor to be here before you today, and this is an issue that's near and dear to my heart. We've been working together on things like being able to hail a taxi in downtown and making progress on that, hooking up the demand curve with availability. This is just another part of the toolkit to get people around in a safe and happy way around downtown Los Angeles. We have thousands and thousands of residents here, but it's not just the residents that this program would benefit. It's anybody who's visiting downtown, whether they're going to a game at Staples Center and then they can get up to Bunker Hill. I also sit on the Downtown Neighborhood Council, and I could tell you, as just not speaking for the council, but just as a member of it, that we at the council would like to take a look at the route that is put together here. But this is like, apple pie and Chevrolet. I mean, who can't be for it? In terms of funding, I, for one, and this
The
is
hybrid, I think, will be for Chevrolet.
there you go. And I, for one, and I'm speaking for just myself as a downtown resident, would be happy to pay a lot more than a quarter to go on a dash bus. So maybe that's part of the funding mechanisms too. Thanks.
Thank you.
My name is Steve Miedelman. I am the owner of the Orpheum Theater, which is located on Broadway. Partially here, and first I want to thank you for being able to be here today, but also to remind you, besides Staples and Grand Avenue, there are other projects that are along Broadway and part of downtown, maybe not always in the tens of thousands, but in the thousands, that are coming down from the valley, and I think this relates to Councilman Alarcon's comments. I think we have theaters, the LA Theater Center that is reopened now. We have numerous, the $1 million besides mine, that are bringing people to other parts of downtown and from various communities and from all over Los Angeles. So I think extending the hours is helping downtown as a community, and I think becoming and preparing for the time that it is truly a destination point, which it has become and it is becoming and being reinforced, particularly with LA Live coming up in the next year or two, and its continuation with the other entertainment that they're bringing in. But the Orpheum Theater is bringing in thousands of people. We would like to see that route moved a little further east on the bus so that really it's not as much of a walk. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for being here. Thank you. And Ricky Klein as well.
Okay. My name is Sed Moses, and I'm head of 213 Incorporated. We're focused on bringing nightlife into downtown LA. That's our sole mission of my company. We have 6 venues just getting ready to open downtown. And one issue that we face is transportation in the evening downtown. So our company obviously is in support of this dash route. Well, not exact route, but bringing the dash back in the evening, into the evening. But we think also that it should move a little bit further east over towards Broadway. I know some people have brought up Hill Street, but we think Broadway would be better for us. We have some venues on Broadway. I'm also a trustee of bringing back Broadway, and I know that committee would be very much in support of bringing the dash over to Broadway as well. That's it.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ricky Klein. I also work for 213 Inc., but I want to address this as a downtown resident. I think that talking about special events exclusively is missing the point that downtown is developing continuing operations that attract people from all over the city, and they're ongoing, and it's not just residents. Main Street in particular, this is addressing the dash, Main Street in particular is becoming a booming, eclectic commercial core. And then there's also the fact of we want to leave downtown too. We want to extend those hours so I can go into Hollywood and I can go to the ArcLight and go to the movie theater if I want and get back safely at the same time. So it's just not about addressing downtown. It's about addressing the city as a whole. It's about addressing switching over from individual pod vehicles to mass transit to developing a solid core. It's holistic, and it's bigger than just special events.
Yeah, I think you're right. Thank you. Yes, we're growing up, I think, in the city and realizing.
One can only hope.
Yeah. We also have
you.
Tammy Billings from LA Live and Michael Kronz from LA Inc.
Are we just addressing number 8 then right now?
We're on 9, actually,
On
now.
9?
Yes.
Sorry, 9.
That's right, 9.
But not 9 and 10?
You're more than welcome to do 9 and 10 if you'd like to at this time, or we can have you come back on 10.
I was like, we'll consolidate.
Okay.
Make it faster.
Okay.
You got
Wanna
my
go
vote.
first? Awesome. The initial idea when we
So
approached...
you get 2 minutes because you're doing 9 and 10 together.
Wonderful. The initial idea when we approached DOT about doing a dash route in the evenings was doing something to service the entire downtown community and solve the problem of people having to park twice to, say, for example, have dinner at LA Live, and see a show on the north side of town. So this way people could pull into downtown, park once, and then take public transportation to get around to address those people that are coming in from the west side so they can achieve multiple, like go to multiple destinations. And the idea for the specific route, I had laid out a map at one point. The idea was if we're going to use private funds to invest in this project, then it needs to be something that those private investors are going to benefit from, which was the reason that Hill Street was not specifically chosen, and projects like Grand Avenue or Broadway may be better suited if you're looking for private funds to help subsidize that. In regards to running the metro hours later, same thing. We anticipate at LA Live there being, hundreds of thousands of people coming down here when we open in December, and we really look at it as something that's servicing the entire community. The economic impact that it will bring to the city we need to really address the transportation issues there. We do have 3 home sports teams that have games in December. There's all but 3 nights that it's not going to be busy. When we add in 2 more nightclubs, we added the Nokia Theater last year. We're looking at potentially on any given night 40,000 people at LA Live alone. If every one of those people drove, we'd be in big trouble. So as many options as we can give them for taking the metro and all the nightlife that's happening in downtown to extend those hours, and it's better for drinking and driving, it's better for the economic development in downtown, better all around. So AEG LA Live is in support of any increased public transportation in the evenings and on weekends.
Excellent. I'm Michael Krause. I'm Senior Vice President of Sales and Client Services for LA Inc., the Los Angeles Convention and Visitors Bureau. Obviously, everyone is well acquainted with the great work done at LA Live. The big thing that I think I'll address in my comments relates to those visitors who need to have access to all of the things LA Live, all of the things on Broadway, the Music Center, all of the other elements of the downtown community and the rest of the city for that matter. Obviously, conventioneers who are coming to the city, you've all heard about the record-breaking numbers that our team has brought into Los Angeles. We're doing 3 million people through the Los Angeles Convention Center a year. All of those people have got to have access to all of these services. And remember, when they come into the city, they have to bring buses in to shuttle them all over town. Wouldn't it be nice if we could avoid bringing more buses in, if we could allow the existing infrastructure that we already have to do that job for us? So I think that's very important. In partnership with LA Live, remember, the conventioneers who are coming are also using the Staples Center and the Nokia Theater for general sessions, for special events, not to mention shuttles and the Red Line up to Universal Studios. All of our customers that come in for conventions and special events want to have those services accessible literally 24/7. So getting the hours extended into the evening and making those things available on the weekends is a necessity for these visitors. They get it in every other city. It should be a minimum expectation for them as a conventioneer coming here to Los Angeles. I think a great first step was the Hail a Cab program. I commend everybody for working hard on that. I think the other thing is we've got to have support of local business. The hotel community, who is our biggest level of members within our organization, they are all in support of this. They want this available to their customers. It saves them money as well and makes them remove shuttles and cars from the road.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks,
both.
everybody.
Last speaker, Christian Fussell. On item number 9, then go to item 10.
Thanks. I'm Christian Frizzell from the Redwood Bar and Grill here on 2nd Street in between Hill and Broadway. I really appreciate being here, and seeing me last minute. Me not knowing how this works is definitely, says how we should teach civics in our public schools. Anyways, yes, there's something that's not being said here as far as the subway goes, and that's downtown. We have all these empty parking lots at night. And if we use those and filled those up and people could take the subway to clubs in Hollywood and come back here, I think that would generate so much revenue for everyone involved. And maybe they'll come to my place as well. Thanks.
Very good.
Is the woman at the Redwood Room, is the woman with the earrings that had all the different, she still work there anymore? No?
No, she just passed
Just
away.
passed, just died. Her obituary was in today's paper or yesterday's
Yeah,
paper?
Monday's paper.
Monday's
Tuesday,
paper.
so.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, thank you. Just want to ask that. So on this item, colleagues, and of course, maybe staff could come back up to the table. It sounds like there's a
I used to do this.
general agreement. This is a good thing to do. Where there's not total agreement yet is the final route, and I think as mentioned by Councilmember Perry's district as well as Councilmember Weisar's, is the importance of designing a route that benefits and also works, will serve the constituency downtown, and also can be funded by the private sector. And you've got a lot of representatives here that are willing to do that. So I think the recommendation I was going to make is that DOT come back with working with the council offices and neighbored council, with LA Inc. And the other business owners to really identify cost associated, funding, and route, and when we might be able to try this, because it does really seem. I just got back from Denver, and those of you that have been there, they have the 16th Street bus, free bus, that takes you down the middle of, and you can get anywhere. I mean, I walked a lot from there to different locations, but it was actually quicker than the shuttles they had directly going to the convention. It was much faster and easier to go there. So it was a great thing. And of course, everyone from Los Angeles said, how come we don't have one of those in LA? That's free. So I think we're moving in the right direction. So that would be my recommendation, is to come back and working with the CLA as well to address those issues, which is route, cost, and funding, and community buy-in.
Question, can the bid pay for any additional hours? Or could that be put on the menu?
Yeah.
Something we can explore, sure.
Would you look at the bid, you see that? And also, something that I've been working on from the tourism side is the expansion of the Starline Tours with Mr. Weisar's office and his staff, Ms. Perry's office. Very new transit will be coming to downtown. It will be what you see in Chicago, New York, and London, Berlin, will be the double-decker buses that carry tourists down there. And I took a dry run the other day, and for those of you on Broadway, it's unbelievable to be in the second story of a bus. And there's the beautiful buildings that you pass or walk by for all the years, and now you can see them. LA Live's going to be involved with that too. It's something that's going to be a cook-off, and it does go through the Broadway down to Santee Alley, then out to LA Live, and then back. And we hope one day to have an extension down to Exposition Park, which is a wonderful facility, and this will be kicking off next week. And coordinating through Mr. Weisar's office, who's been the champion of Broadway, this will be exciting. So this is positive news. I just don't know on the nightclub. I don't know. I mean, I don't know, maybe. Did you see the Beatles? Anybody here see the Beatles live in their life? Oh, good, John. At Dodger Stadium?
I saw him on Ed Sullivan show.
Hollywood Bowl. I saw him at Dodger Stadium, so I saw him second to last concert. Candlestick, you didn't see him at the Cow Palace's last performance. You beat me in.
That's a famous band, isn't it?
That's a British band, yeah.
It's a famous band.
Famous band. But the point being, I don't know how these people nightclub all night long now. I mean, they do it, and I just wish them well. They're young. I was young once too, but I always had a different kind of MO. So.
Madam Chair, just for clarification, the DOT report is note and file with a report back, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. We'll go to item number 10, brief presentation. Who's coming up on item 10? Other than Jessica, maybe on
That's
MTA.
Okay, that's
Come on up,
yours.
MTA.
Oh, good.
Jessica, you want to go ahead and come up, MTA?
Don't forget, Art, I want to hear about the rapid bus down Venice Boulevard before it's 3 years now.
This is, if you want to just remind us again on this.
Yeah, item number 10 is a Weezer Grow motion relative to a pilot program to extend the operation hours of the Red Line between North Hollywood and downtown during the holiday season.
This will be a pilot program, privately funded, to be able to look at this. I expressed before I had my own experience where I got caught because at 12:30, which is later than I normally out.
Very good,
But
good.
was at Hollywood and Highland, and almost had to take a cab, but saw friends and did not have to take a cab because of 12:30 closing. So this is to look at that pilot. So if you want to make a presentation, and some of the questions we'd like to address is MTA's interest in that, the funding, which I know, Jessica, you'll talk about, and the pilot, and timing and availability to do this quickly. So, all yours.
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you for putting this on the agenda so quickly, because this was quite a sprint. Our business owners downtown and some of the business advocates came to the Central City Association, and to our office, and to the Broadway Initiative, and said, we want to make this
Excuse me, we're not going. She's part of the presentation, so we're not going to give her a minute.
Thank you. We want to extend the red line hours because we want to support our employees who want to ride Metro to get to work during the holiday season. We want to support people that want to come down and experience Los Angeles. We want to increase transit ridership, of course, and increase the economic vitality of downtown and Hollywood, and teach people that you can go to dinner at Hollywood and Highland and be downtown for an after-dinner drink in 15 minutes or so, and really educate people that those two communities really are connected. So we got together, staff and business owners and lots of people, and talked about how to do this. We're very grateful to Metro for putting together some numbers for us very quickly to let us know what it would cost. The idea, the concept, of course, is to maintain continuous service Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays in the holiday season through 3 o'clock in the morning, with the next one coming at 4. So if you are out until 3 and you miss the 3, then you have an hour to wait. Otherwise, you have regular service up until 3:30 in the morning. Metro has estimated, and these numbers need to be worked out in the program, and that was why getting it to this committee so quickly was important, so that we can get it to Metro and they can officially consider it. The numbers came out, and I'm sure that you guys can go over it a little bit better, to about $4,500 a day to do that extended service. Metro was very open about their situation. They're operating in a deficit. If we want to try this, they're willing to help us and work with us, but the business owners and representatives that were asking for it needed to be able to show that they were able to support it. In the last couple of weeks, and really it's been just a couple of weeks, we have gotten commitments of just under $50,000 with 7 other businesses that have said, yes, we're going to support, I need to get a number to you. So we don't know what those numbers are going to be. Bordner's, Blue Palm, and the Highlands in Hollywood, 213 Ventures, you heard from Mr. Moses earlier, Broadway Bar, the Golden Gopher. The Orpheum Theater is a sponsor. Mr. Needleman had to leave for another obligation. The Historic Downtown Business Improvement District, AEG, LA Live, Staples, Club Nokia, Redwood Restaurant, Longest Marquee, Goa Restaurant and the 1624 Restaurant in Hollywood, the Fox Theater, Ivar, Salma Hotel. We had a number that just came in just today of people that are like, oh yeah, we want to support it. So we feel very confident that this is a good program that the city can feel good about putting forward as a suggestion to Metro to consider. Metro's been open to the idea. We definitely have some program details to work out, especially when it comes to marketing and what these folks are going to get for their dollars, and I think that private marketing is going to be a big part of that too. One of the AEG, Tammy can probably discuss this too, but just bouncing around ideas, it was sort of like late night red line brought to you by whatever sports team is playing that night. And those are great opportunities for them as well. So we're very, very pleased that we were able to put this forward for the holiday season this year. We think it's going to increase jobs, it's going to help the downtown economy, it's going to help people get from Hollywood to downtown, downtown to Hollywood, and it'll really affect Hollywood as well. And of course, it's the Valley too, all the way out to Councilmember Gruhl's district and anywhere that's served on the red line. And we're going to activate that line 24 hours a day. And as a major metropolitan city in the world, we're going to act like one for a couple of months during the holidays and have 24-hour transit. So we're very excited, and thank you for your consideration.
MTA.
Arthur Henry, Metro Government Relations.
Yeah, Bruce Shelburne from Metro Rail.
And Metro staff was pleased to provide the information that the various interests downtown were interested in terms of the cost of operating the service. The Metro staff, Metro Board has not taken a position, obviously, on any of this information. Our process was to just be helpful and provide the information that the various constituencies are interested in. I think it might be appropriate, Bruce, to just maybe go over some of the numbers that were quoted.
Yeah, right now, what we're calculating is approximately $4,500 per day for service in any combination of days. We would prefer Friday and Saturday night only. We do have maintenance issues Sunday through Thursday night. And one thing, should it all be approved, would be that the best we probably could do would be mid-November right now.
I guess that's my question. If they're successful in identifying the funding and being able to work out the marketing aspect of that, what's the logistical aspect of getting your board to approve and its implementation to be able to do that?
Well, I think
And the process is that?
I think the city would need to request the Metro Board, that to consider this item. That would be the appropriate venue.
Madam Chair, we are working with the mayor's office, who's chair of the board, to hopefully get it on for September. So we're working with
Great.
them, and as long as we can take a position before then, and we've got the numbers, I think we can do that.
And so if the stars are aligned and, this is why that the money becomes available and all of that, and it's voted by and I think there was a recognition that maybe Friday and Saturday night as a pilot was probably financially more feasible and an ability to kind of work with you all as well, but to start just before potentially the holidays in mid-November.
Yeah, mid-November. We do have some staffing issues right now, and our time is somewhat precious with the east side getting ready to open.
Yeah.
The sooner the better.
The appropriate thing for us then, what you're asking, is that we ask the board to consider this, and as part of that there would have to be a provision of here's the money that's been identified, and to be able to do that for the board.
Absolutely. There would have to be a funding source
Yeah.
identified.
Knew that one, so. Colleagues.
Mr. Henry, is it?
Yes, sir.
You remember these MTA board members, they come and go, but sometimes they have good ideas, don't they, in the past?
Very good ideas, sir.
You were on the board. Tommy was on the board.
So what about the idea of extending the red line out directed to the assistant man from Union Station to the 4th Street Bridge in Santa Fe? Is that ever going to happen? The Carolyn Flowers, I want it to be the Carolyn Flowers Station, not the Carolyn Flowers Memorial Station.
Yeah, that's probably for a different forum right now, that discussion.
Could it happen? I mean, I remember you did some development deal down there, and I tried to push to get it included.
Yeah. Anything's on the table these days.
Yeah, I just think tonight we could go out, we could form it, and pour a platform station.
Yeah.
The successive subway, Madam Chair, will be that we follow BART's system. Do you know how big BART's system is?
Quite extensive.
Like 123 miles, and we're 18 miles?
Yeah.
But they're also half and half in San Francisco. Half underground, half above ground, correct? And they go down the middle of the freeway out to Livermore. We're not even using it. Richard, I want to push that subway from the Chandler and Lancashire out to your district along the 170 and along the 5 and then out to Santa Clarita.
That will be cash or credit.
Say it again?
Cash or credit.
Cash or credit. I'll just build it. We'll just say, who wants to join me Saturday? We could do it.
A pilot program for about 70,000 right now.
I got it, but on this here, I got that there. No, but there's something, here's what I'm saying, Madam Chair. There is an opportunity today to extend it even deeper into the art district where people live. And for you not to connect it down to that, I walked it, and I walked it with your former director, John Cato, and it could be done. So I just want to push it. I don't know where it stopped. And
Did you walk it with Mick Jagger?
Not with Mick Jagger, no, but Keith Richards, just after he left Musso Frank, but he was all right.
Mr. Rosendahl?
Yeah, just a quick question, since when MTA shows, I always ask, how are we doing on our rapid bus on Venice Boulevard?
I'm pleased you asked that, sir. We have the West Side Central Sector Governance Council had public hearings on the issue about bus service on Venice Boulevard. Right now, there is not the funding to add any additional rapids, but what they are doing is considering remodifying the service on Venice to mimic. We have right now a limited bus service and a local on Venice Boulevard. What's going to the council, in fact, it's going this evening, is a proposal that the limited service, which now runs from Santa Monica to 5th and Main, and doesn't come down to Union Station past City Hall would be restructured to emulate what a rapid would do. It's a limited stop service. It doesn't stop at every stop along the way. It stops every, half a mile, three-quarters of a mile. That would be restructured to come down and serve all the way to Union Station. That is...
Madam Chair, I'm going to be leaving in a minute. Can we stick to the agenda?
Sure.
And this is crazy.
It's not crazy for my folks. We want something down Venice Boulevard.
Talk to them when it's on the agenda, Bill.
We've done it every day. For 3 years, Richard.
Well, so that item is now before us. Any other comments? Mr. Walsh, we're going to go into the comments before us. We have, and Mr. Walsh, if you could please, I was just about ready to call the public comment. Thank you.
So
you could let us. Okay, Mr. Sachs, followed by Tracy Shavera. I'll come up, Jeff McConnell, and Mr. Walsh.
Yes, good afternoon, Arnold Sachs. Quickly, feasibility for Dash, for video like on MTA buses. Those people should also have the opportunity to listen to funding for their second mortgages, like the MTA riders have to listen to 15 times a day on MTA buses. But there's no video on Dash. Why not? The hours of extension for the red line, would like to see them include other lines also. Would it be every 20 minutes like they do off-peak hours? Would it be a half an hour? For $4,500, what exactly would be the time frame, and how many extra trains would we be talking about from what they normally end now at 1 o'clock, 1:30, till 3? How many trains is that? Is that 3 trains? Is that 4 trains? Is it 45? How exactly, what are you getting paid? What are you looking for $4,500? And then very quickly, Mr. LeBon, or Councilman LeBon, BART has 100 miles. We only have 18, but we have 28 years of study on the West Side Extension, and BART doesn't.
Ms. Shavera?
Hi, Tracy Shavera with Central City Association. I'm here to express CCA support of the Red Line hours of extension from downtown to North Hollywood. As you know, CCA has been very successful in recruiting over 34,000 residents to downtown, new restaurants, bars, and lounges, and dozens of other businesses that you've grown to know and love. We've truly made downtown a destination, and now we need to work on public transportation. We support the pilot program for the following reasons. We would like to see people get home, as well as the people who clean up after we're all gone. It would help reduce traffic congestion by getting more cars off the road. It would increase public safety by adding more eyes and ears on the streets and the trains. It would help reduce drunk driving accidents and fatalities. And it would allow businesses to stay open longer, increasing city revenue.
Great.
While all the details haven't been worked out, we believe that gaining committee approval is the first step.
Great.
And we thank Councilmember Huizar for his leadership, and we hope that you approve the pilot program today. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Walsh, if you'd make your way up as well, but first we're going to hear from Jeff McConnell.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeff McConnell. I'm co-chair of VICA's Transportation Committee. VICA supports the creation of this pilot program. The Red Line is the primary mode of transit linking the San Fernando Valley with the Hollywood and downtown. The Red Line is already the most popular line, and this proposal will only increase its ridership. This will benefit business through increased access to the retail and entertainment destinations in Hollywood, downtown, and North Hollywood. It also provides the employees in these work centers more commuting options than are currently available. It will benefit the local community through reduced traffic and provide a viable transportation option for those who choose to drink alcohol. Finally, it is an excellent opportunity for the city to take advantage of private funding for a pilot program that will be beneficial to everyone affected, and study the possibility of implementing a permanent extension of nighttime hours for the Red Line. VICA encourages you to implement this pilot program as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Why, Mr. Walsh?
24 hours?
Could you hold on one second, please? We'll hold your time. This starts time. If Nicole Shahinian, as well as said Moses, would come up, as well as Michael Keeley. Thank you. Mr. Walsh.
24 hours on behalf of the drug gangs in Hollywood, I would like to thank you. I want to show you the name of the gang that controls the drugs in Hollywood. They use the subway. I can't say it aloud because I don't want to get murdered. That's the name of the gang. They even have a nickname for me. They call me, one gang calls me the professor, the other gang calls me the chairman. They know who I am. Listen, nobody, no tourist, I live a block from the station, no tourist, no nightclub person takes the subway. I'm on there late at night. The only people who take it are gangs and low-income minority workers, and they're not working at 3 or 4 or 5 a.m. My best is my new neighbors, my multimillionaire neighbors at Hollywood and Vine in the Broadway building are suing the S Club for all the noise and pollution. These people, Scarlett Johansson, all these people are the same as me. And I'm telling you right now that you're waiting for the first murder of a tourist on the Red Line, and it will happen if you keep it open.
Thank you. Nicole?
Nicole Shahanian with the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce.
Mr. Walsh?
On behalf of the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce, I'd like to express the Chamber's support for extending the operating hours of the Red Line between North Hollywood and downtown as a pilot program for the upcoming holiday season. As the downtown and Hollywood areas of Los Angeles continue to grow at unprecedented rates with increases in residential, retail establishments, restaurants, and entertainment attractions, and other businesses providing goods and services to residents and visitors, the Red Line pilot program will improve the ability of people to easily use public transportation in the most congested areas of our city. We feel the increased hours for the Red Line will help employees and visitors of our cultural and entertainment destinations by providing transit options when they need them, including late at night, which will in turn help our businesses. The Chamber is very excited about this proposal and believes that the pilot program has the potential to be a large step forward in transforming LA into a more public transit-oriented town, as seen in other great cities like San Francisco, Chicago, DC. And ultimately will mean fewer private vehicles being used for local transportation in the already traffic inundated areas of the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moses, followed by Michael Keeley, and then Bonnie Marquez.
Okay.
And Alex Pugh.
Said Moses. I'm back talking from the perspective of as a business owner in downtown LA with 6 venues, about 150 employees, 160 I expect to have in about a month. And currently my employees cannot take the metro to and from work because it doesn't run late enough. So this will be a step in the right direction for my employees, so they'll be able to take the metro to and from home if they live in the Valley and live in Hollywood. So obviously I'm in support of this, and I've made a financial commitment as well on behalf of my company. Also in support as the head of the Retail and Hospitality Committee for Central City. I'm in support of it from that perspective, and as a trustee for bringing back Broadway. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Michael.
Madam Chair, council members, I'm Michael Kiley from the law firm Allen Matkins. We've contacted, in support of this proposal, several of our clients who are property owners, restaurant, nightclub, theater, hotel, and other entertainment venue operators in the downtown area and the Hollywood area, and they unanimously support the project. Several of them, I think we're up to 8 or 9, have already agreed to make financial commitments to this pilot project, and others that we hope to speak to but haven't had a chance yet to, we believe will come aboard as well. So on behalf of several of our clients, at least 8 or 9 at this point, we're enthusiastically in support of the proposal.
Thank you. Bonnie.
Hi.
And Alex, is Alex still here? Oh, thanks.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Marquez, and I'm with the Live division of LA Live. I represent Club Nokia and Nokia Theater, and we're here to express our support for the increased hours because between the two venues, that's an additional 10,000 people at least a night down there, and we are just in support of decreasing congestion and making it safer to travel on the Red Line. And you know, when people are out having a good time, we just think the Red Line is a good way to go. And in addition, LA Live will be hiring an additional probably 500 employees, and this is a great way for them to come to and from work. And there's a reason people aren't taking it down there is because they can't get home. And we want to get people down there and get them home at night, and it's just a good way to travel, and we are in support of it.
Can I just ask a quick question? Does this include the Long Beach Blue Line? Because that connects to Staples.
Right
Red
now,
Line?
the initiative's just the Red Line.
Yeah, but how do you
pilot program.
how do you get from your place up to 7th?
It's not that far to walk. It's 4
Yeah. You know. It's an 8-minute walk. I do it every day. Good. Okay. Now, Mr. Walsh, thank you. The other question I just wanted to ask you too, which would be.
Obviously, we would like an extension to other lines, but at this point, the only thing on the table is Red Line, and
Was anybody thought about
support it.
doing the short blue line? To see the blue line ran from 7th Street down to Pico and back?
And then in conjunction with the dash and dot that is also on the table, then that would bring people up and
Potentially,
down
yes.
the street.
That would be
But-
another
and
way.
also, how many people, do you have any information, use the Pico Boulevard? How many use the Pico step off there, platform station?
I don't have numbers on that.
No, just in general. I know some people go 7th. A lot of people I know, like you, Wendy, any chance you get, you use that red line and you get off at 7th Street and then you walk. But some people, how many use the Pico Boulevard station?
Can you please come up to the mic and speak?
Okay, it was my fault. I'm sorry, Madam Clerk.
Metro has identified the Pico station as being the one closest to LA Live and the one that they will, put our signage and promote walking from there from A to B.
Right.
But the red line, from my personal experience, is much faster because you're not waiting for a change, and that blue line runs all the way to Long Beach, so it's not as frequent. So
Maybe they could be a short line, It would just be.
they can do it, more power to them.
Okay, got
but
it.
then
All right,
I think in the future, and they can present, I think they're looking at it, some downtown connectors that are going to make.
And is that on the high side, on the south side of Pico or the north side of Pico? It's on the north side of Pico, right?
It's on the north side of Pico.
Yeah.
The ultimate goal would be to eventually get the other lines to run just as long. It's a phased project.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alex?
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. Alex Pugh with the Los Angeles Chamber of Commerce, here in support of extended hours for the Red Line during this holiday period as a pilot project. Obviously, we support increased transit use as a way to encourage folks to use the downtown area as well as connect between Hollywood and the North and the Valley. So we're here in support. Thank you.
Thank you. In 25 seconds. Thank you. That is our last public speaker on that item. And so I believe the action that we would be taking would be to have this go forward to council and asking the MTA to extend it to, yes, MTA, I'd like to, clarifications, please.
Just a couple of items. What we costed out was 20-minute service, 2-car trains, with the last trains leaving just slightly before 3 o'clock in the morning.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
What we costed out was 20-minute service, 2-car trains, with the last train leaving just slightly before 3 o'clock in the morning from each terminal.
From each terminal, okay.
From each terminal. No connecting services whatsoever.
No what? I'm sorry.
No connecting services whatsoever. No blue,
Right.
Orange, or
Right.
any of the other gold.
It'd just
or
be
any of the
that.
others. That's correct.
Got that in this pilot program. So I think what you've asked us, if for the board to continue, and you've talked to the mayor's office as well, is for there to be, the council would take action, asking the board to consider it, working with the mayor's office, and in that period of time, Jessica, wherever you went, in the back, having really firm commitments and whatever the MTA believes they need, which is firm commitments, whether it's a signed letter or checks in hand. That's something that with everyone to work together. So when it goes to the MTA, everything is there, and there's not is there money or not money. So.
Yes, ma'am.
And I look forward to taking it when it's out till the time.
The inaugural ride.
The inaugural ride. If I can stay up that late, okay.
Quick question.
Yes.
Do we have, what's our latest service now anywhere in the system?
Right now, the last Blue Line train leaves Metro Center at 12:45, going southbound. Last Red Line train leaves at downtown at 12:17, going north to North Hollywood, and I believe it's 12:54 coming back.
And buses?
Buses, we have OWL service overnight. There's an OWL network that runs on.
So we do have 24-hour bus service?
Yeah, there is 24-hour bus service, basically once an hour on most lines. Wilshire's heavier.
Right.
There's a couple of lines that are heavier than that.
Got it.
Including
Yes,
24-hour service on Venice Boulevard.
Very good. That's why Art Henry is so special. Hey, do you know when the Owls come back to Los Angeles?
Would you? We liked you there.
This time of the month in September. You'll hear them if you listen.
Thank you. So that'll be the order of the council. Thank you very much. Thanks for all your hard work in making this happen. We look forward to it.
Flowers for me, Arthur.
Next item, Madam.
Item number 11 is a Grove Parks motion on DOT to report relative to the preparation of a list of the city's priority transportation projects and programs for the Safety Lou reauthorization.
I know on, actually, 11, 12, and 13 are kind of related on the
Take them all
special
together?
agenda. I think we'll take them all together.
Okay, item 12 is a DOT report in response to a Grove Parks motion and a Padilla Parks motion relative to the status of Safety Lou earmarks and high-priority projects. And then the special one is a Parks Grove motion relative to the preparation of a resolution to adopt an official city position to be submitted to Senator Boxer as part of her field briefings regarding reauthorization of Safety Lou.
A little bit. We, first, which we'll take is item number 11, and we have one public comment card before you speak, Mike. John Walsh.
As you may know, about 15 years ago, MTA or LACTC and RTD were getting the New Starts about 50 to 60 to 70% of all the New Starts money. Then we went to 60 Minutes, we got them in here to do the subway from hell, and you have gotten almost nothing. You know who's getting most of the money now? New York City, with 1,560,000,000 boardings a year, while MTA, all rail together, has 67 million boardings a year. In fact, Expo Line has no federal money. Now, you didn't see it in the paper, but I can give you the document. Leslie Rogers at the FTA did a study and said, quote, buses would do a better job than Expo Line, and they lost $400 million. And I'm happy to say that I was responsible for that.
Thank you. That closes public comment on that item. We're on item number 11. I do not see a card, Mr. Sachs, on item number 11. You have, I'm sorry? Okay. I do not, you have public comment and you have item on item number 13. Those are the two that you have submitted. If you'd like to speak, but you do not have your, there's no card for you on item number 11. Do you wish to speak?
14 is related to this?
We don't have a 14. We're at item number 11. Item 11.
Actually.
We're at 1 minute.
Thank you. Just really quickly, because the safety, accountability. I'm reading from the background here that 67 projects for this are for a total of $552 million that will be constructed within the city of LA. 38 are anticipated to be projects that will be implemented by the city of Los Angeles. These 38 projects total $32 million. On the next page, it states that federal fundings will earmark, the federal earmark funds is 80% federal funds and 20% local funds. So for the $32 million in federal grant funds that we will need, but it's not $32 million in federal grant funds. If they're funding 80%, if the construction is $32 million, then it's $32 million. That's the total.
You comment on item number 11?
Yeah, this is Safety Lou, right? The safety.
It is Safety Lou.
I'm
This
just
is,
trying to look for accountability. The projects you state are $32 million. You're looking for the federal funding. It says here, we need to invoice $40 million to cut $32 million back.
that's on, I believe that those comments would be on item number 12, but thank you. Thank you very much.
But I'm just looking for the accountability here. Why would you
item-
invoice $40 million to get $32 million when the projects total $32 million and you want
Thank you.
80% of that? That
Thank
would
you,
be
Mr.
covered by.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I know, I
We-
understand. Thank you.
On item number, on item number 11 is looking at specific projects that we would want to be considered by safety. On item number 13 is looking at the overall policy that we'd like to see in the Safety Lou going forward. And so what we really wanted to do on this item was, of course, whatever projects would be consistent with whatever we adopt on item number 13, which is the overall looking at the policy that we think Safety Lou will include. So we'd just like to, we want to get the department moving on this again, so we're not at the last minute throwing in projects, and we'd like you to instruct you to meet with each of the departments, each of the, not only departments, but the city council offices going forward on this, and that would be, we'll know more later about what the funding picture is, but we'd like to begin that discussion. Sorry, after 2 hours, I'm not very articulate in that. So the instruction would be to ask them to meet with each council office, talk about what might be eligible for Safety Lou, and then they're going to come back with a project and come back in 30 days kind of on where we might be. And that relates to item number, and this will include everything from bike and pedestrian and bus service, all of those would be included as part of that. Sorry, Mike, I jumped on that one, but we don't have a report. So on item 13, we do have some public comment cards as well. This is on our special agenda. This is comments to Senator Boxer on the federal funding bill because they are looking at the so-called reauthorization of the Safety Lou. So if you'd like to give us just a brief overview and with the CLA, and you have a part of the report and comment, and then we'll go to public comment.
Yeah, we've got a quick report on item 1 on the special agenda, which is, as you said, requesting our office to prepare comments to submit to Senator Boxer as part of her reauthorization efforts. We have a short report that we've presented and then a resolution for an official position on the reauthorization, and then a few bullet points attached to the resolution related to project delivery, specifically issues related to concept of implementing a new mobility block grant for large metropolitan areas, use of federal funds, federal airport funds, using those for off-site transportation improvements, and importantly, supporting a dedicated funding source for establishing a goods movement trust fund. All of these are based on previous council positions and the 1909 Commission report.
Great. And I know we have some more specifics that talk about increasing the national contribution to transportation, addressing increasing national demand for goods movement, smart growth strategies and congestion relief practices, policies that reduce greenhouse gas emissions and improve air quality, and then specific projects that we've been looking at to our surface transportation network to the extent. So if we can maybe beef it up a little bit with some more specifics, I'd like to move that forward, and we've talked to some people.
Okay, and this is scheduled for council next week, so we'll have that prepared and submitted before council.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. We do have some public comments in case there are questions. Mr. Sachs, Mr. Walsh, Dorothy Lay, Francisca Porchas, and Sung Young Yang. I know that's 5 of you, so Sung Young, when someone moves, you can come up.
Wendy, do you want to do the vote before? Because I got people waiting in my office.
Well, I can't do it.
She's trying to schedule them all. They're going to do it. It'll be 4 minutes.
4 minutes.
Minute, Chair.
I like getting minutes.
Thank you. Mr. Sachs? Or Mr. Sachs, you're first.
Thank you. Public comment, right?
What?
This is public comment time.
This is comment on item number 13.
Oh. Who'll ask?
You don't want to do that? 13? Okay, Mr. Walsh?
This is Safety Lou. There is no money if Prop R fails, if it ever gets on the ballot and fails. Every local dollar, $40 billion, a huge amount of that would be matched by the federal government. If there's no $40 billion, there's no match. Now, you got to get 2/3 because of the late sainted Howard Jarvis, one of my 2 mentors. That would be, I try to combine Howard Jarvis with Malcolm X, and I'm being very popular with that. So what I'm telling you is no on Prop R. We can kill all these rail lines that mean nothing. There is only 100,000 people using them now, not boardings, people. Because if you go from the red to the green, the red to the blue to the green and back, you count it, MTA, as 6 people. It's not 6 riders, it's 1 unique rider. This whole system is falling apart. No on Prop R. See you later.
Dorothy.
Okay, hi. I'm Dorothy from LA County Bicycle Coalition. I'm really happy that you're submitting comments to the next transportation bill. And I just came back from Seattle from 2 national biking conferences, and I was really inspired by what I saw and also by LA's potential. And you mentioned a lot of reducing greenhouse gas emissions and relieving traffic congestion. I strongly urge you to use the transportation bill as an opportunity to prioritize bicycle and pedestrian projects specifically in light of the National Complete Streets movement and California having the potential being the first state to pass a complete streets bill, which is looking at urging designing of streets for all users. It's really important that we can fund, if these bills get passed accordingly, bicycle and pedestrian projects. So LA has a unique opportunity. We always complain about lack of funding for bike and pedestrian projects, and this bill has a really important place for that. So please specifically talk
It does,
about
thank you. And I commented on Denver earlier on the bus, and there was also bicycles that you were able to utilize. They had a whole system during the convention, which was really fabulous. So, thank you. Francesca?
Hi, good afternoon. We are planning, the Bus Riders Union is planning on having a national campaign on Safety Lou. We've had a very active role in past years, but we want to work with groups around the country who have modeled themselves after the Bus Riders Union or are making demands on Safety Lou. It has historically been a huge bill that has given most of its funds to freeway and very little to actual transit. And obviously, most of the money comes from the auto industry, so it makes sense. So what we're saying is we had a very promising meeting with you, Councilmember Gruhl, where you talked about potentially having a motion for a study for bus-only lanes citywide, and we really do want to follow up with you on those openings that you created and seeing this bill as something that can actually bring funding in for that. I mean, I think this whole wheelchair bus-only lane has been somewhat of a nightmare, and it's been stuck for a long time, and we really need to actually prioritize citywide bus-only lanes so it won't get stuck again.
Great. Thank you very much. Mr. Sachs, and then followed by Sun Yun Yang.
Thank you. Well, the real question here is accountability. I mean, when does it come to the forefront? I've come before this committee, and I've come before City Council, I've come before Metro, just regarding accountability, specifically the Mid-City Exposition, Light Rail Transit Authority. There's absolutely none, zero reference in any paper, any meeting for a mid-city line. Yet it shows up $45 million, $35 million from the city. How would you call that accountability? Accountability. 28 years to study the West Side Extension. Who's accountable? What part of LACMTA is accountable to come up with an answer after 28 years? 28 years. Say it. That's a lot of time. That doesn't include all the studies that were done previous to LACMTA. Accountability.
Thank you.
Let's have some.
Sun Yu.
Good afternoon. My name is Sun Young Yang. I would like to speak regarding the particular city resolution. As Francisca talked about, we are launching a national campaign around the federal transportation bill, and I would like to make sure that included in the city resolution is a recommendation for the federal transportation bill to include strict greenhouse gas reduction emissions criteria when evaluating earmarked projects or projects that are going to be for earmark. As we know, 60% of the federal transportation bill goes into expanding of highways, and 20% of the money goes into transit, most of which are $150 million to $350 million per mile capital construction projects that have not fulfilled the real issue of tackling global warming and public health and reducing auto use. We have to start focusing away from reducing congestion, but actually reducing cars. And we think a strict criteria on both the city's proposal and the city's recommendation to the federal transportation bill and reducing greenhouse gas emissions can eliminate a lot of this problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it. We still have to do item 12, but on item 11, we're going to ask the DOT to report back with a written report in 30 days with the outreach. On item number 13, they'll work with the CLA to report back on the city's position with some of the more specifics that we would have in this meeting.
If If you can adopt the CLA report as it's written right now with a direction to expand on the policies as you described, and then we'll hear it in council, I believe, next Tuesday, so we'll present that, we'll bring that in, so you'll have that.
That will be the action on that item.
13, yeah.
Yes. And I know Mr. Bonds has to leave, so we'll do 11 and 13. 12 is a status report on their last safety loop, because we will be competitive based on somewhat what we've done with the last allocation. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Labange. Thanks for being here.
None of the projects are able to start construction yet because the last year of Safety Lou has not been funded yet. There has been no appropriations bill from the federal government for FY 08-09. And as a result, Caltrans won't approve any of the projects to advance. And everybody's in the same boat. I mean, everybody involved in Safety Lou is in the same boat. The other thing that happened just this Friday was Caltrans sent out a memo asking regional planning agencies across the state what would be the impact of their direction from Washington that they might only be able to reimburse projects at 60 and 70%.
Unbelievable.
These are projects that were supposed to be funded at 80 or 88%, and so there will likely be problems in the middle of the project because we were anticipating reimbursements of 80%, and we're going to be scrambling around. I believe the commitment was that they would still pay the 80%, but we've only cash flowed the projects. I mean, we've cash flowed the projects for 80%, and if they are unable to do that, the cash flow is going to be a problem. We're going to have to scramble around for additional money to continue these projects. And there is some discussion about possible delays on the city side on some of these projects because of staffing problems. Public Works has lost a lot of engineers to the Department of Department of Water and Power, and they're sitting on a lot of vacancies, and as a result, they're looking at the possibility of delaying some projects. And given the choice of projects that we have, delaying the Safety Loop projects isn't bad given the situation that we're in, and because the funds are legislatively good until spent, whereas other sources of funds that we've gotten have deadlines of 3 years or something like that, and so it's not a bad decision to look at delaying the Safety Loop projects. I understand the issues with our competitiveness, but we're looking at restructuring. We're looking at structuring new projects in a little different way for the upcoming Safety Lou. We'd like to put in some projects that are titled something like implement traffic safety improvements and road improvements in the northeast San Fernando Valley, say. And what that allows us to do is these are projects that would be done with city staff. What that allows us to do is work on the projects little by little. So we could do, if we get $200,000 in the first year, we can design and build $200,000 of city staff designed and built projects. Street Services did that in Safety Lou last time, and I think that's a very good strategy for a lot of reasons. It eliminates these kinds of projects would be scalable. So depending on how much money we get, we can size the projects to the amount of money so we don't have to scramble around for money at the end. We can show progress year by year. We don't have to wait till the end of the bill, till all the money's available before we can actually construct the project. Add a few others. The match exists. I mean, if we use the funding for traffic signals that we get every year, we can leverage that money and try and reduce our backlog on traffic signals. And given the state of Prop C, having an existing match fund is a tremendous asset for the Safety Lou reauthorization. And what we're looking at doing is not creating one master list of projects for Safety Lou, but a list for each of the congressional districts, because the way the earmarks are handled is each congressperson gets a certain kind of purse to play with.
Right. Right.
And so we need to have projects in each congressional
Right.
district in order to be there. And we, I think, especially on some of the congressional districts in the South and other parts, where City of Los Angeles is one small part of that congressional district. If we're not active and squeaky, there are other cities that will sweep up all the money. In the San Fernando Valley, where we have Congress member Berman and Sherman, where the City of LA is virtually their entire congressional district, we get calls about, what kind of projects do you need? And so that's a little bit easier, and we've done better there, almost by nature. And so we're doing that with respect to Safety Lou, and hopefully.
Can I just interrupt you for a second? Anything about Henry Waxman or Jane Harmon and Maxine Waters, who are my three? Any energy there? Is there anything I can do? Our legislative guy in the back there.
I think what we need to do is we need to identify the projects that the city deems its most important projects, and we have all our electeds and legislative folks and the mayor pushing these projects with the Congress offices.
Right. Could you come up and tell us a line or two? The guy behind us here, our good man that works for the mayor, that does government relations work for him. State your name for the record.
Hi, Jim Clark, Director of Federal Relations for the mayor. I agree with those, but one thing we want to do this year that I don't think we've done in the past is we want to go to the congressional members early on and find out what their interests are, because oftentimes when we go to them and we give them these projects, they're not things that they're necessarily interested in, and they get to the bottom of the list. So if we can start working with them early on and get them enthusiastic about it, particularly the districts like Linda Sanchez that only has a small portion, or an Adam Schiff, or something else like that, then I think we can do a lot better. So that's something that we want to actually do this year that we've not done in the past.
We applaud you for that, and I'd like to see what we could do in my three congressional districts that come into the 11th district. Thank you.
I think some congressional, I have to say that Sherman is probably the most aggressive. Brad has created, projects that he thought were interesting and talked to people, and has been the most successful. And I think Mr. Parks always looked at that map and said, how come they're all getting in these areas? And it really has been the leadership of those elected. So I'm sure you will have a big impact on those electeds to make sure this time.
And I love my council member, my representative members. They're great people.
So you'll keep us in the loop on this, and clearly we'll have discussions on when we're talking about item 1113 going forward, and that to make sure that we're competitive. So
and anything you can give me in my districts that you think I should work on with them, I'd be happy to do that too.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So I think we receive and file this document. I know we don't have any other ones. We do have public comment cards.
Great.
Mr. Sachs, Mr. Walsh, and Milion Gabris. Sorry if I mispronounced the last name.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Arnold Sachs. As you mentioned, Rapid on Van Ness also. What's the status on that? I asked about this in the council meeting, why the LADOT Commuter Express is doing countywide service and not, why isn't that under the auspices of MTA? It's a county bus line. The LADOT was organized to be a city bus line, but it's running in the county. The downtown connector that's been talked about to replace Councilman LeBon's mentioned something about downtown, the downtown connector that will be constructed to alleviate the traffic, the flow of people using the red line. What will happen then when the downtown connector is finished and there's only 10 people left to ride on the red line? Because 95% of the people that come into Union Station via MetroLink will now use the downtown connector. They'll have 8 cars for the Metro line, red line, and 7 passengers. Has that been looked at?
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. Mr. Walsh?
Ms. Gruhl, I want to say you have done an excellent job of running this meeting. I wish some of it would rub off on Mr. Garcetti. You've done a really great job. I'm not going to haunt you. I'm not a transit nerd. I have a job. I'm not on welfare. And I don't think that Jesus Christ is on a train, okay? So I don't, not, the great guardrail is not part of me. I'd like to invite everybody to the MTA community meeting tonight. I hope you come. It's in your district, I believe, in Westwood. Westwood Presbyterian Church, 10822, and although it never appeared in the paper, they've come up with new numbers for the subway from hell to the ocean. And that is no longer $300 million a mile, now $1.5 billion a mile, $5.5 billion, and that's 2008 dollars that run out in a few months. For the midpoint of construction, we're now talking 13, 14, 15, about $750 million a mile, and you're going to run it through the La Brea tar pits. Watch the movie Volcano about the La Brea tar pits and MTA. I appear, a character based on me appears at the beginning of the movie.
Thank you. Mr. Walsh, you did also submit a public comment card for the special meeting.
I'm going to give you a break. You've done such a great job. You don't need another minute of me.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh. No other public comment cards. Thank you, Mr. Rosendahl, for staying in staff. Thank you, the department. Meeting is adjourned.
See you.
Thank you.